Welcome to Scoreflow. Nottingham Forest season kept growing as the cup run gathered force. Today, we revisit Nottingham Forest's 24-25 campaign and the nights that gave it real weight. The journey began with a 1-1 draw against Bournemouth at the City Ground. Wood's first half strike cancelled late by Semenyo. Away at St Mary's, Gibbs-White decided it with a tidy finish for a controlled 1-0 over Southampton, easing early nerves after the opening stalemate. Cup duties at the City Ground brought Newcastle, Jota Silva levelling for 1-1 before Forest bowed out on penalties. League matters resumed with a 1-1 against Wolves at the City Ground, Wood on target before a swift reply. At Anfield, Hudson-Odoi delivered a statement 1-0 win over Liverpool, the kind of away result that changed the feel of Forest's season. After that high on Merseyside, a steadier afternoon at Brighton ended 2-2, with Wood from the spot and Sosa ensuring a point. Home again, Forest were edged by Fulham 1-0, Jimenez penalty deciding a tight contest. Chelsea away demanded a response, and Wood's strike earned a composed 1-1 at Stamford Bridge. Back at the City Ground, Wood's second half finish secured a neat 1-0 against Crystal Palace. Momentum carried to Leicester, where Yates set the tone and Wood's brace sealed a tidy 3-1. With tails up, Forest swept West Ham 3-0 at the City Ground through Wood, Hudson-Odoi and Aina. Chasing another step, Murillo's opener couldn't hold as Newcastle hit back for a 1-3 defeat. At the Emirates, hopes of a reaction met a bruising 3-0 defeat, Arsenal pulling clear and adding late gloss. The reply came at the City Ground as Wood's penalty delivered a steady 1-0 over Ipswich. At the Etihad, Manchester City proved ruthless in a 3-0 defeat that checked Forest's progress. At Old Trafford, Milenkovic, Gibbs-White and Wood fired Forest to a 3-2 win over Manchester United, with Wood reaching double figures in the league. Still buzzing from Manchester, Forest had to dig deep as Milenkovic and a later Langer winner turned Aston Villa over 2-1 at the City Ground. To Brentford next, and professionalism told as Aina and Elanga wrapped up a calm 2-0. Tottenham were clipped at the City Ground, Elanga striking for a measured 1-0 that kept the push on. Goodison Park saw the run stretch with a tidy 2-0 over Everton, Wood and Gibbs-White on the sheet to make it 5 straight in the league. At Molineux, Gibbs-White, Wood and Awoniyi delivered a controlled 3-0, sealed by a late third. The FA Cup brought Luton to the City Ground, where Yates and Sosa sent Forest through 2-0. Back to league stakes against Liverpool. Wood's early finish met a Jota reply for 1-1 at the City Ground. Forest edged Southampton 3-2 at the City Ground, goals from Anderson, Hudson-Odoi and Wood outweighing late pressure. Aiming to roll on at Bournemouth turned into a collapse, Forest beaten 5-0 with Ouattara's hat-trick and late strikes compounding the damage. The response was emphatic at the City Ground, a 7-0 over Brighton featuring a Dunk own goal and a Wood hat-trick capped by late finishes. In the Cup at St James Park, Sosa and Awoniyi earned a 2-2 before Forest held their nerve to win the shootout, despite McGuinness striking twice. League focus returned with a 1-2 reverse at Fulham, Wood's reply not enough after first half pressure. A wild night at St James Park ended 3-4, Hudson-Odoi, Milenkovic and Yates scoring as Isak's double swung it. After that setback, Forest steadied with a disciplined 0-0 against Arsenal at the City Ground. FA Cup fifth round tension saw Yates level for 1-1 against Ipswich and the shootout win booked a quarter-final spot. League duties resumed in style as Hudson-Odoi struck late for a 1-0 over Manchester City at the City Ground. At Portman Road, Milinkovic opened before an Elanga brace set up a 4-2 over Ipswich with late goals at both ends. In a tense quarter-final at the American Express Stadium, a 0-0 with Brighton led to a shootout success and a place in the semi-finals. Returning to the league, Elanga struck early to edge Manchester United 1-0 at the City Ground. At Villa Park, an early burst from the hosts proved decisive as Jota Silva's reply couldn't prevent a 1-2 defeat. At the City Ground, Doucouré's late goal handed Everton a 1-0 win and left Forest with late heartbreak. Spurs away brought redemption, Anderson and Wood striking before a late scare in a 2-1 victory. Under Wembley's arch, the FA Cup run ended in the semi-final as Manchester City won 2-0 and closed the door on Forest's biggest cup day of the season. Back in the league at the City Ground, Brentford took their chances in a 2-0 defeat that kept Forest searching. At Selhurst Park, Murillo's leveller balanced Eze's penalty for 1-1 and a steadier point. Home again, Gibbs-White and Wood made it 2-2, the striker reaching the 20-goal mark for the league campaign. In London, Gibbs-White and Milinkovic put Forest 2 up before a late reply, closing out West Ham 2-1. On the final day, Chelsea edged it 1-0 at the City Ground as Forest's campaign signed off with a narrow defeat. By the end of it all, Nottingham Forest had finished 7th, but that only told part of the story after long stretches spent mixing it with the top end of the table. There were statement afternoons in that run, from winning at Anfield and Old Trafford to the 7-0 demolition of Brighton, while the FA Cup carried them all the way to Wembley before Manchester City ended the journey in the semi-final. Wood finished as top scorer with 20 goals in all competitions, and even with the sharp swings, it still felt like a season that raised Forest's level and expectations. Thanks for watching Scoreflow. Let us know in the comments how you judge Nottingham Forest's 24-25 season. Like, share and subscribe for more season deep dives.